Thank you, thank you, thank you. Welcome to the 5,422nd meeting of this Rotary Club. We're going to call to order. I don't have my bell, so just pretend that you hear me ringing it, and we will get started right now. Thank you all for being here. I know that we're expecting some serious rain later today, but it's a great pleasure to be with you. If we could settle down, please. We've officially started the program. Thank you. Have I told you today how much I love being president and what a privilege and an honor it is to be with you every week? I seriously look forward to it every single time. And Jason has returned from vacation, so you saw that we had our wonderful slideshow of the prior week's activities. Thank you again, Jason. We love that. And Nicholas Adams is here to join us in song.
Oh, look, they're already standing. I don't even have to invite you to stand. Look at that. Very good. Well, I don't need the salute, but that was nice. Thank you. Let's hear you nice and loud today, folks. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans wide with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home. Thank you.
Okay, it's official. We've got the bell. So moving right along into our birthdays. Hi, friends. Can everybody hear me? Can everybody see me? All right, let's get going. We only have 57 minutes together, and we've got a packed agenda. So celebrating birthdays from the 27th to the 2nd are 4 of our Rotarians, but today we celebrate one of our new members, Hekmet Asas. He was introduced on January 17th, and please, if you have not already done so, I beg of you to stop by and read his bio. He's a father of 6, he was a 1-star general in Afghanistan, and his bio takes my breath away. Happy birthday to you. I hope your 6 kids celebrate and honor you. Thank you to the greeting line and to the program committee for being in that line today. That committee is chaired by Charlie McCollum. If you want to have a spirited opportunity in Rotary, this is the committee for you. If you want to drive the direction of the speakers, raise your hand and join that committee for some good discussion. And then we have our traveling mics. A reminder, we will go clockwise like always. On the mics today, we have Blake Ward. Blake, I still have goosebumps from your mother's rendition of our national anthem. It was just beautiful. So thank you. Brief introduction, please.
Yeah, hello everyone. My name is Blake Ward. My sponsor is Helen Lambert, and I'm a realtor with the agency from the Netflix hit show Buying Beverly Hills. Check it out now.
Thank you. And then Johnny Camus is 2 weeks in a row. We've got him, unless we've had a change. Walt, you're standing up. Are you okay?
Yeah, hi, I'm Kirk Walakevich. My sponsor is Heather Lerner.
Perfect. Well, a slight change of plans, so ignore that photo there. Big Boss, could you please join me to deliver the eulogy for Frank? Back up. Let's do the intros first. We do have 16 introductions today, so typically we would roll right through that. But because we want to honor Frank and his family members that are here, we will do a brief introduction. I ask of you to simply say the name of your guest. Please do not go into any details on the background. Kai, we missed you last week. Welcome back. If you have a guest or you're a visiting Rotarian, please stand. Did I recover okay from that little snafu?
Beautiful. Hi, everyone. My name is Matt Robin. These are my guests, Cookie and Marty, dear friends from the East Coast visiting.
Hi, Cookie. Hi, Marty. Nice to have you.
Hi, President Karen. I'm pleased to announce my guest, Lily Guggenheim.
Oh, hi, Lily. And I see Jay Alexander is there too. Nice to see you, Jay. And sitting there is the first gentleman, Evan Mandel. Thanks for joining, honey. Chris.
Hi, President Karen. Chris DeSalvo, Public Relations. My guest's name is Dawn Coppin, and she is the Executive Director of the San Jose Library Foundation.
Excellent, Dawn. Nice to see you. Jerry?
I'm Ann Webb. I'm a visiting Rotarian from Bellevue, Washington. My sponsor is Kathy Kimball, who was also a member here.
Kathy is wonderful. Nice to have you.
Hi, President Karen. My guest today is Carlos Ayala, best benefits guy ever. Thank you.
All right, benefits guy, you have a home in Rotary if you ever want to learn more. Yes.
Hello, President Karen.
Hi, President Sal.
I'd like to introduce my guest who's walking towards lunch, Heather Durham.
Enjoy lunch. Big boss.
So boss, Steve Hostel is here with his wife, Jill, for the eulogy today. I'm sorry, I married him off to the wrong woman. Wife Lisa, pardon me.
Very good. Nice to have you. And we have another daughter here as well, correct? Jill, is it? Nice to have you, Jill. So pleased you could join us.
Hi, President Karen. Karen Sinanutauri, and my guest today is Tanya Robinson from the Independent Police Auditor's Office.
Thank you for your hard work and welcome.
Hi,
David.
Hi, President Karen. Matt Breaker from the DA's office. My guest today is Ed Liang, also from the DA's office. He's the one in charge of all fentanyl prosecutions in our county. So,
Very timely. Welcome.
Good afternoon, President Karen. David Beanie here, and my guest today is Diana Zamora Marroquin, who is the Senior Director of Public Affairs for Planned Parenthood Marmonte.
Welcome.
Hi, everybody. Hi, President Karen. My name is Emily Robin. My sponsors are Steve Borkenhagen and Mike Conniff. And I'm thrilled to introduce everybody to our guest speaker today, Tessa Reynolds. You're going to hear a lot more from her when we come up to do the program in a bit.
All right, let's see.
Hi, George Carrasco from Evergreen 5B. Thank you, Karen, for the invite. And I'm looking for a new friend, Brenda Sweeney, if I can find
The
her.
woman in purple, right here.
Okay.
Nice to have you again this week. Arthur.
Good morning, President Karen. My guest is Simon Linder, who's right here, who's moved here from Ohio.
Simon, I believe that's 3 weeks in a row now. It's nice to have you again this week. Okay. That concludes our guest introductions for now. Big Boss, come join me, please. And you use the right button to advance the slides.
And years on my grass even, and years on no more, we'll meet again somewhere far over side, far over side, my dear, far over side, we'll talk of kindness yet far over side.
Thank you for your attention. I'm here with two of Frank's four children, and Lisa and Lori are joining us up here so you can see what good work Frank does. Well over 6 feet tall and athletic, he could have been leading a Roman legion or starring in a Western with John Wayne. But instead, he was a thoughtful, kind, PhD educator. Frank Fiscalini was a happy paradox of powerful yet caring leadership. Born on November 26, 1922, in San Bernardino, the fifth of 7 children, to a Southern Pacific Railroad repair person and wife who maintained a grocery store and gas station. He worked hard, was happy in that big, striving Italian family. He volunteered to be a medic in World War II and married Joan, the love of his life. As he began his baseball scholarship at Santa Clara University, he then was tapped by the New York Yankees to replace Yogi Berra. He was on their struggling AAA team for a couple of years, starving, and Yogi wouldn't retire. So he brought Joan back to California, began to coach at Bellarmine, then on to excel as principal at James Lick High School, followed by superintendent of the rapidly expanding East Side Union High School District. And he accomplished all of that by the ripe old age of 33. His firm but thoughtful management style brought him notoriety as the district added numerous new schools and thousands of students. It was during that time that I met Frank, and he gave a struggling young pollster a contract for a quarterly survey to measure sentiments in the district. He and Joan were busy. As Lisa, Greg, Lori, and Jill were born, their Genevieve Lane, West San Jose home exuded happiness, and Lori and Jill are here with us today, as you can see. After 31 years in academia, Frank became general manager of the East Side Alexian Brothers Hospital. An unsuccessful run for mayor in 1991 was followed by an election to the city council, resulting in 8 very productive years, much of it as vice mayor. During that time and since, Frank devoted himself to Joan and to the community, chairing major causes, including reconstruction of St. Joseph's Cathedral, for which he raised over $100 million, and co-founding Opera San Jose, Children's Discovery Museum, Silicon Valley Ethics Roundtable, and many, many more. So the boy from the immigrant Italian family always fought for those who needed help the most, and shared his imposing, always benevolent guidance with us all. Frank Fiscalini will be missed, but will be remembered through his good work. Thank you, Lori and Jill, for sharing your father with us. Rest proudly, Frank.
We'll have our moment of silence, please. A reminder to hold your loved ones dear, and don't be afraid of sharing your emotion and yourself fully and transparently with others. To the daughters, I'm so sorry for your loss. He was a giant among men and such a revered community member. And Big Boss, thank you for those moving words. As always, it's difficult to transition, but now we go into DAC-DB training. I know you've all been at the edge of your seats. Okay, we have 4 minutes, 18 slides, but Matt assures me he will be on time or he will suffer the wrath of Philbrick.
You ruined my 18-slide surprise. How many of you even know what DAC-DB is? Raise your hands. Okay, now keep your hand raised or raise it if you've ever used DAC-DB. Okay, so we got about half the room who have, half the room who haven't. Do you know what DAC-DB stands for? Surprise, I ruined it. District and Club Database. So every one of the clubs has it. In our case, we use it. I have pictures of the iPhone version. Of course, you can download it on the Android as well. Go to your App Store or the Google Store, whatever you get your apps from in order to get it. You're going to download the app, as you can see, and then you log in. If you don't know what your login is, it's oftentimes easier to do on a desktop computer, but just put in the the email that you use for Rotary, so in my case, me@IamMatt.com, my password, and login. In the case of the desktop website, it will show you forgot password, email that, and it'll send you your password. I believe the default password is typically Paul Harris 1914 or something along the lines of that. So, why do you want to use DACDB? Well, let's say you're like, hey, I met this really good guy the other day named, Matt. Which Matt was it? Oh, well, it turns out there's about 14 Matts. Okay, so I go in there. Well, if everybody has their nice updated pictures and they aren't 47 years old, you can tell who they are by choosing them. So I go to Matt Robin, and then what do I find next? I find where Matt's information is. I can now email Matt. I can find out what company he works for. I can know where he lives. Oh, it turns out we're neighbors. I should give him a call and invite him over for a beer sometimes. Or a whiskey. I'm good for either of those. If you click on my email address, it'll automatically allow you to send a P-mail, which is basically the Rotary database email equivalent. Now let's say, as I was talking to HECMAT the other day, how do I find out about committees? Well, I click on that homepage, I go to My Club, and I find committees. I click on there, and this is every committee that we now have. So I go and say, hey, you know what sounds like something I'd really like to join? That gala committee. And who's in charge of that? The wonderful Heather Lerner. I'm going to email her or the entire committee because I have this amazing idea for something I want to give to the gala. You can delete names, you can add names, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That is the simple way of doing it. Stories basically brings you to the equivalent of what would be the front page of the Rotary website, which if you never go to that, DACDB or the Rotary website allow you to do exactly that. So you've got stories. In this case, I click on the speaker for today. It's Tessa. I can see what the lunch order is. I can click there to get the link to go to the lunch order. And then I'm traveling. Hey, you know what? I'm going to Washington, D.C., and I want to find any club within 10 miles of me. I click on there, shows me a map. I go to the Alexandria Club. I've got the contact information, so I can now go to a Rotary meeting in Alexandria, Virginia. This is what it looks like on the desktop website. That's where you'll see the forgot reset password. If you put in your username or your email for that username, that's what you get there. And this looks much more like a traditional website. So this is last week's meeting. It's got the meeting recap as we scroll down, I will say. It starts to become last week's meeting. So the email that you receive, or if you never received that email, you can say, oh, hey, you know what, I want to see that. And then again, what the lunch meeting is, or the lunch for next week's meeting, how to order it. There's that wonderful man, Matt Robin, and his profile picture. If you wanted to know what a chicken looks like on a shoulder, it's that. Again, contact information. But let's say you're like, oh, I don't know if they have any updated contact information for me. Well, I am able to go and click on my edit my information, and within there I can start to edit my name, my birthplace, all the different places I've been. So it's up to you in a way to update these things so that everybody knows who you are. These are kind of the different icons you'll see as you want to go in there. So again, if I want to go to committees, I click on there. I can join debunking, and you can literally just click on it and it will allow you to ask for permission to join. And then in a sense, you would start to get the information for each of these committees. Again, this is the gala committee, how I can go on there, see who's in it. So I can go, yeah, that seems like a good group of people I'd love to spend my time with. And that's pretty much what we have. Did I do my time? 4 minutes done.
That was actually really good. I learned some new things, so thank you for that. And it begs an update to something you saw on the screen, which was the walking tour that was actually scheduled for today. It has been postponed. So on behalf of Robert and his co-chair, is it Catherine? That's the Military Care Committee, excuse me. The San Jose walking tour, overseen by Deanna Persai and Robert Davis, is going to be postponed by 1 week due to the weather. So again, if you need a mobility device to help you traverse the campus, please reach out to Robert so that he can arrange that. But do not show up today at 1:30. You will be very lonely and cold in the rain. Sal, come on over and tell us what's happening.
Thank you, Karen. We're going to go through this a little bit quickly because I know we're pressed for time and I don't want to get the Philbrick hook. But okay, so Rotary, we take care of one meal a week for you, right? But you got to eat other times, and there's some new stuff either open or opening downtown where you can eat. So let's start with that downtown food hall that just opened last week. That's, of course, where Hank Coca's Downtown Furniture used to be, and you can see they kind of kept the signage motif with that. Right now, there's only 2 restaurants open there, Azuma Japanese Sushi and Mercy Mediterranean, but it's going to have up to 23 restaurants available to order from and a little bit of seating in there to eat. You've also got Anchor Chef Cambodian on 86 South 1st Street and a new pho place, Cowboy Pho. Imagine pho with brisket. That's over on San Fernando Street, just pretty much behind us. And opening soon, Elise Vietnamese is opening in its new spot on the corner of 1st and San Fernando. It's supposed to be happening, I think, in February, along with Angelou's Mexican Grill, which moved from 2nd Street to 1st Street. And EOS and Nix is supposed to open in the old Camera 12 space. Right now they're saying March. We'll see if that holds up. A lot of fun stuff to do on stage right now. All of our theaters are operating at a great capacity. Just this past weekend, Symphony San Jose put on a great show with automation and had a good house both days. You can see a list here. City Lights has Nora, A Doll's House. San Jose Stage has People Where They Are opening, just opened. Rigoletto for Opera San Jose, and as a special treat, they've got a bit of a preview for that during South First Fridays. On Friday at 5:30, you can go tour the California Theater, and some singers will be doing numbers from the show starting at 6 o'clock. Chicago's going to be at Broadway San Jose in a couple of weeks. And Jerry Springer, the Opera at San Jose Playhouse, which is, of course, at 3 Below. And 3 Below has actually a great deal right now. They're trying to get their foundational customer base going, so they're offering memberships at $150 a person for the whole year, and that gets you discounts on shows, freebies when you show up to the movies or plays, and other events that they have like sing-alongs. So you can take advantage of that at, I believe, if you go to sanjoseplayhouse.org, you can get all the information. And of course, there's some more art and music going on. It's the first of the month, the first week of the month, so we've got South First Fridays on Friday night down in the Sofa area. Galleries, restaurants, anything with art is going to be open late. The San Jose Museum of Art has its own First Friday event going on with Vietnamese guitarist Thien Anh Nguyen playing. That's free after 5 o'clock. San Jose Jazz's Winter Series starts, and that's in their break room, which is in the old Valley Title Building across from Original Joe's. That kicks off also on Friday with the San Jose Jazz U19 All-Stars and continues into March. You can check sanjosejazz.org for details on that. And this one I have to throw in, the Big Band Orchestra 19 is going to be doing a TV and movie themes concert at City Lights on February 4th at 7 o'clock. I mention it because I'll be helping out doing a game show portion, sort of a Name That Tune. So if you want to come out, I think it'll be a fun night. And that's what's going on. Perfect. Thank you, Karen.
Thank you. So the only thing I can't quite wrap my head around is the Jerry Springer Opera. So I'm going to have to dig a little deeper on that one. But thank you, as always, for letting us know what's happening around downtown. So I have a very brief 2 minutes for President's Time. I have an update on 2 successful events, 1 opportunity, and 2 requests. Let's start with the successful events. For those who were able to attend last Wednesday's Red Badge and Club Social at the Gordon House, it was phenomenal. It was so fun and exciting, and thank you to all of you for the invitation and for working so hard as we celebrate our Red Badge members and welcome them into the fold in the community. We also had the Minetta statue unveiling at the airport last Thursday, a phenomenal success where hundreds of people gathered to celebrate our personal hero, and that was led by Rod Diridon, who raised the funds to celebrate people who've had a significant impact on our valley through public art installations. If you haven't had a chance to see it, the next time you're in baggage claim B, take a look. You can't miss that life-size statue, especially because his 5'3" frame is on a 6-foot pedestal, so he's kind of taller. Okay, now an update. You may have seen the picture of Jaime and Terry Chapman on the Rotoplas mission that was up there when Matt was talking about DAC-DB. If you'd like to follow their journey while they're in Bangladesh, they do have a blog. It was in the Rotary Bulletin, and you can access that link to learn more. Now, Two requests, a gentle reminder and a follow-up from last week. Please do not email Leslie with unnecessary responses, and please do not hit reply all. It's a crisis of an avalanche of email, and it's unnecessary, and she is overworked. We need to protect her as we launch our Marie into disability, and we welcome Lisa to the team, and we wish Teresa well in her new endeavors. So lots happening at the front office. Let's be mindful and let's be respectful, please. And also, if you don't have your green sticker, you won't want to miss the opportunity to contribute to our foundation so we can continue the phenomenal work that we are doing. Now, finally, one opportunity, and who's a 49er fan in this room? Let's start there. Go Niners. Now, was that a riveting game or what? I know that some of you might be interested in those hard-to-get Super Bowl tickets. There might be an opportunity, and I urge you to speak to Michelle Loxon to learn more. I'm going to leave it at that. There she is, standing up maniacally and very excitedly waving. Good luck, Michelle. We love the work that you do. And finally, I'd like to invite our own Dr. Emily Robin to lead us in discussion about the fentanyl facts with Tessa Reynolds. Now, you might have seen that we celebrated the married couple today. We had Matt Robin, and now we have Dr. Emily Robin. So, welcome.
Hello. All right, everybody hear us okay? Okay, we have, let's see, it's 12:42. I'm just gonna keep a close eye on the clock because I have a feeling we are gonna have just a lot of comments and questions. So today we are going to be talking about fentanyl. I want to introduce our speaker, Tessa Reynolds, and I think probably it would do you the best justice if you kind of describe, just tell us who you are and why you are the right person to be here teaching us about fentanyl and related issues.
Well, thank you all first for your hospitality and inviting me into your space. My name's Tessa. I use the pronoun she, they. I work for the Behavioral Health Department of Santa Clara County. I've been working with people that use drugs for over 10 years. I work in harm reduction, so I'm really working with folks at a capacity of meeting them where they're at rather than, making sure they're completely abstinent in our program. And yeah, I just have a big passion for working in this work and making sure the information gets out and folks, can be assets and helpers within the community outside of the drug and alcohol field. So thank you again.
Perfect. So several people have approached the program committee and mentioned that they thought that a program about opioids and about fentanyl would be useful and we would all learn a bit from it. So we responded to your comments and requests, and so here we are. I'm going to read a little bit from notes because I'm like nervous / very excited and I don't want to forget anything. So the objectives for this next few minutes, we're going to discuss fentanyl and like what it even is and where people might find it. We're going to talk about its impact on our community. Very importantly, we're going to plan action steps for how we all can have a positive impact in our community related to fentanyl and opioid use. And then super important toward the end, we're going to talk about recognizing the signs of a fentanyl or opioid poisoning. We're all going to learn how to use naloxone, also called Narcan, which is the antidote, and everybody gets to take home Narcan. Okay, so that's
If I didn't bring enough boxes, I'll make sure to get you some.
Yes, plenty for everyone. So that's what we're going to try and cover, so fast and easy, right?
Yeah.
No problem. So let's start by just tell it, what is fentanyl? Like, what is it related to, and who is using it?
Fentanyl is an amazing medication when it's used in like the hospital setting, right? It's a pain management. It's one of the higher opioids, so it's a synthetic opiate. It's more potent than morphine, which makes it very dangerous for folks that are using it illicitly because they're not knowing how much they're getting, right? When you're using it in a hospital, you're having surgery, you're in chronic pain, your doctor might, put you on an IV, give you a drip, but it monitors you. You may be only able to hit it once every, 3 hours in terms of the potency and how it can delay our respiratory and nervous system. So medical setting, love it. Fentanyl testing, fentanyl patches are really common for folks in chronic pain in terms of putting on their skin and absorbing through their skin. So
yeah, it has some interesting properties that it can be absorbed. Yep. Oh, I've never been told to be louder. Okay.
Me neither.
Fentanyl can be absorbed through the skin, through the nasal or oral mucosa. It can be given intramuscularly. It can be given intravenously, transdermally. So it has wide applications in the medical field because we have so many options for literally how we can administer it. For example, in the pediatric emergency department where I work, it is standard of care protocol to offer intranasal fentanyl to a patient with a broken bone. Like you see, they fell off the monkey bars. They clearly have a broken arm. It's like gold standard is to offer intranasal fentanyl because it's super fast. You don't need to wait till you put the IV in. You can give it to literally anybody squirt up the nose. So it's from a medical standpoint, it's been really revolutionary.
Yeah.
So who, other than in the hospital setting, who uses fentanyl?
So people that use drugs are using fentanyl, right? They're using it in a powder form, in a liquid form. It can be snorted. It can be IV injected. It can be smoked. So there's all sorts of routes of administration that folks can use fentanyl. The reasoning that the beliefs behind finding fentanyl in the drug supply now is the potency of it. It's cheaper. It can be manufactured here in the States. It can be imported from other countries into our states, and you can stretch it out longer, right? Like any industry, I look at the food industry, right, and we will not use cane sugar because it might be more pricey, so we go to corn syrup, which might be, not as well on our bodies, but here's an industry saying, let's find a product and an additive and an ingredient that, we can cost less for us, but can stretch out into our product more for our consumers. So that's, with looking at it from a harm reduction standpoint of not villainizing folks that are using or distributing it. It was that thinking behind it is like, hey, we can make, this heroin more potent than yours. That way maybe the customer will come back to me as the dealer.
So just sort of segueing a little bit from what you just said, why is fentanyl so much more dangerous than other narcotics? Like people have been using drugs recreationally forever. So what's the difference with fentanyl that it's so much deadlier? Like if you were a recreational drug user, you feel like you know what you're getting, like why is fentanyl so much more dangerous?
It's more dangerous, because of the potency. So for somebody that isn't habituated to opioids, meaning that they haven't been using opioids and they don't have a tolerance, something as little as 3 milligrams can be a lethal dose. And that is very teeny in terms of like the tip of a pencil. You could see that dose being on there. And how it's becoming so dangerous is people don't know how much they're using, right? They don't have a prescription bottle that says, hey, this is a 10 milligram pill, take one every 4 hours, or whatever the regimen would be in a medical setting. So when folks are selling it, they don't know how much is in there. They might not even know that the fentanyl is within their product that they're selling. And then again, we don't know how much people are using out in the community. And fentanyl is known as it has a shorter half-life than other opioids, so it tends to people use it more frequently. So that can also contribute to it in terms of like using heroin. It might be 3 to 4 hours until you want your next dose. This could be within an hour, and so that potency can build up because our bodies have not metabolized out that first dose and that second dose. Therefore, it compounds, and you can eventually have a lethal dose. Within the other markets, it's being put into other substances where people don't even know that fentanyl is present in that substance. We're seeing an increase in fake pills. We saw manufacturers shut down a lot with distributing a lot of opioids. So there's real regulations on that now. So dealers and folks are making fake pills and adding fentanyl, thinking to get that euphoria effect of an opioid. Even though, again, you don't know how much is in there, you don't know how many pills the person may take, which could, again, lead, to a lethal overdose or just an overdose or poisoning in general.
It's hard to wrap my mind around like how somebody could accidentally take fentanyl. Like why are people putting it, like how could I, if I was a person selling a medication or a drug, why is fentanyl in there not to my knowledge? Like why would somebody do that?
It can be first what I shared in the beginning in terms of like trying to make the product more potent, and then it can also be what type of opioid would be put into a fake pill, fentanyl, because of the price, the way it's more attainable. Again, it can be manufactured with chemicals within somebody's house. It doesn't need to be imported.
So if I was buying drugs from somebody and I'm like, I don't know what was in that, but it was real good, I'm gonna go back and buy more from that person.
Exactly. And the danger is when we're seeing it with like a lot of stimulant users, folks that don't use opioids, so they don't have a tolerance, maybe are using an ecstasy pill. That's not a stimulant, apologies, but that's my example. You know, and there's fentanyl in it, and you know, a young person might think, oh, I'm taking an ecstasy pill, and that could be fatal to them because they, again, don't have that tolerance. There's also ways where folks, maybe a dealer is cutting the fentanyl up, then placing it in their bags to distribute, and then they're throwing down the cocaine to cut that up, and it's getting cross-contaminated accidentally, right? Because we understand dealers are not trying to kill their customers because they want to make the money, right? But again, this product was put in without education and understanding from, you know, the consumers and the people that are selling it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm going to shift gears a tiny bit. Can you say a little more about this concept of harm reduction and what that means? Because I think that might be a phrase that not everybody is super familiar with.
Thank you. I hate to tell you guys that you've all practiced harm reduction today. You wore your seatbelt here, I'm assuming, you know, to reduce harm while you drove your car.
Or your bike helmet.
So really, or your bike helmet, or you might have put on sunscreen, you know, despite the rain. But harm reduction is really a universal concept that was built out of the public health department and mutual aid when governments weren't giving opportunities to BIPOC and queer communities in terms of accessing medical care. That's really where harm reduction came in, is helping one another in a community. We saw it a lot in COVID, right? Hey, check on your neighbor, we can't get to them, you know, like really that mutual aid prospect of it. But the reality is harm reduction is to reduce the immediate harm within an activity. It doesn't have to be drug use. It became really popular within drug use when, mainly honestly, when the AIDS epidemic was happening and you started seeing safe supply of needles going out so people would not be cross-contaminating and getting deadly diseases. So that's really a big, huge one where it came out. Like our public health department here has had a needle exchange program since the 90s where they're actively giving out, you know, safe supplies to drug users in order to reduce crime, to reduce susceptibility of communicable diseases and whatnot. So that's also, you know, something that really it's very stigmatized, right? Because we think, you know, of course, being a health practitioner, I would want all of my participants to be abstinent from substances because they can't cause harm to folks, right? But we have to be real. There's a lot of folks in our community that use substances and they're not being impacted, right? Some of us can go home, have a couple of glasses of wine, you're a substance user, you know, but when we frame it in a different way, we're looking at the 10 to 15% of really high-risk users. That's where our narrative goes to drug use. We say, hey, if you use this, you're most likely to end up like this. From my understanding, working with folks for over 10 years, it's really trauma, right? Which is bringing people into wanting to not feel the way they feel, right? We live in this freest land of all, and we have the highest rates of opioid susceptibility and, you know, taking substances. And that to me says, why do we have so many people in our country that don't want to feel the way they feel, right? It's really more of an escapism in terms of, I know that this can change the way I feel immediately, right? So really looking at, you know, people that use drugs, they're all across our towns, our worlds, you know, and really trying to destigmatize the folks that are really entrenched in that, meaning maybe our unhoused folks that we see, right? And we could be a little off-put when we see someone that's out in the community that, you know, isn't as, I'm not trying to use any kind of language to stigmatize folks, you know, but just not the lay people going to work, right? We might see them and say, oh, they're bad people, but the reality is when I've worked with these people, they're the people that were in foster care systems, they're the people that were traumatized, that were neglected, that were, you know, abused, and then they found this substance because opioids are painkillers. They're gonna hurt, they're gonna take care of emotional and physical pain. So what I look for, or what I work through is it's not why the drugs and alcohol, it's that are the problem. That's the best attempt to solve a problem. There's something underneath that somebody is usually coping with substances, you know, and that can be us, that can be our, you know, partners, our loved ones.
So you definitely addressed one of my next questions, which was going to be, what do people in general, in all the teaching that you've done and workshops that you've given, what do people tend to misunderstand the most about fentanyl and opioid use, narcotic use? And I think you spoke to that a bit there, that it's really people sort of self-medicating a deeper problem. Anything else that you feel like is a commonly misunderstood or like a
Yeah.
common myth that you would want to debunk?
There's a huge one out there that if, and you guys might have heard it or seen media around it, that if you touch fentanyl, you will possibly overdose, which is not true, right? In order to get fentanyl in your system on a patch, it's been tested. It's not just, I took some powder, I rubbed it, we don't take aspirin, rub it on our hands, and it absorbs into our skin like that. The reason this myth needs to be busted is because it keeps people from responding to folks when they are experiencing a fentanyl poisoning or overdose, right? Because they might believe, hey, if I touch this person, they've been in contact with fentanyl, then I myself will overdose, which is not true. I've personally tested substances with folks that were positive for fentanyl, stuck my finger in it, I don't recommend it, but just so I can sit here today and be like, I've done that and I did not experience any overdose withdrawals. What I see in the media when folks are coming in contact with fentanyl, it's usually increased heart rate and it's usually hyperventilation, which are signs of panic. Those are not signs of an overdose. Signs of an overdose, as you'll see on your card, and we'll get there, are decreased heart rate, decreased breathing. It doesn't have a panic response to it. It has a more, it's a sedative, a depressant response. So it really takes your body and energy down rather than excites it, and then, folks, again, will pass out, but that, again, could be from panic. So just really knowing that it is a dangerous chemical, yes, but in what setting, right? If your doctor says, hey, here's some fentanyl because, again, you're, in chronic pain, no, that stuff that's not what you would say. You'd say, awesome, I'm in a setting where I trust my doctor, I know my providers, they'll have naloxone, honestly, in the hospitals. It was developed in 1961, so that's where, this medication has been, is in the hospitals, intramuscularly and intravenously, so we've now made it really accessible for folks to administer outside of a medical setting.
In the hospital where I work, just in the past 6 months, I've taken care of 3 different children who were under age 2, who came into the hospital, like somebody called 911 because the child was unresponsive, they arrived unresponsive, me, multiple other healthcare providers are touching the child, putting in an IV, giving them rescue breaths, etc. And then when we see that their pupils are pinpoint, which you'll go over, we give them Narcan and they're better. So 6 different healthcare providers touched this child and we're all fine. So that is definitely a myth worth busting.
And that leads me to believe the child had ingested that,
Oh, yeah.
right? So if you ingest the chemical or the medicine or chemical, however we want to look at it in what setting, that could be potentially dangerous for you.
Okay, I'm keeping an eye on the clock because I really want to make sure we get to this Narcan training and teaching everybody how to use it and getting to take it home. But before we get there, tell us some things that you feel like Rotarians and other members of the community, our family members that we're going to go home and talk to later today, what can we do to contribute to just doing better, doing good in this domain? What can we do to contribute to solutions in this domain of narcotic use and addiction?
Well, I think even just, being curious about this topic and having someone like myself come here and help you guys understand it more is a very good start. Spreading this awareness, right? Spreading the correct information, sharing this information with people in your family, with your children, with your grandchildren, making sure that they are aware of this, because my most fearful population is young folks, right? Young folks that are in experimentation, young folks that are like, oh, cool, I want to fit in, so I'll take this pill at the party and, whatnot, and really knowing that there are things out there like fentanyl testing strips where folks can test their substances before ingesting them. Again, always have naloxone because they do not pick up every analog in terms of the fentanyl being produced. The test cannot keep up with trying to find all those chemicals within, the substance. And then knowing how to use naloxone, this is a huge part of how you can be saving part of your community and spreading the message, letting folks know where they can get access to naloxone, which would be my program, SCOOP. We have a Santa Clara County opioid overdose prevention program, those types of things. And then, treating people that use drugs with respect and care and compassion, because people aren't going to change and they're not going to feel like they can even access programs if they're being berated and they're being stigmatized and they're being treated as less than, right? It's known that folks that engage in harm reduction services, they're 5 times more likely to go into abstinence-based recovery, and that's solely because of the connection they can make with a human. We have a lot of jurisdictions and agencies where folks aren't able to come in if they're under the influence of chemicals, even though that's what the agency might be there to treat and help. So they're going behind the agencies, they're shooting up with maybe dirty puddle water, they're getting septicemia, they're having all of these, medical complications simply because we're not saying, hey, you're worth something, you're welcome to come and access care here and start building relationships with people that care about you. Because if someone wants to go to withdrawal management, detox, they don't know how to get there. If they're working with someone like us or, then we could say, hey, let us help you walk you through those steps to get there when they're ready, right? This isn't about folks don't want help and they don't want to get, maybe into a different place of their life. It's really the accessibility to our services is really limited with folks.
I'm going to make sure that maybe in a follow-up from this meeting that everybody knows contact information for this program that you're talking about, because I suspect there's at least one or more people in this room who feel like they maybe have heard of somebody that they maybe know who maybe might find this useful, and I want you to have those resources.
And that also, I put some flyers out, so there's a table out there with naloxone where everyone can get some on the thing. I put one flyer that has a naloxone training video that we did in English and Spanish, so you can share that with other people. We can get them naloxone if they want it. One of our program flyers of the Q Corner, because we are the access point for the LGBTQ plus folks in our community within the behavioral health department, and we have a great drop-in space. We help a lot of folks, with other types of services within being queer and trans and non-binary within our community. And then one of the project that I launched called the Harm Reduction Project, which is bringing trauma-informed, low-barrier access to substance use services and care within our community. So those are all out there. And feel free to email, if you want training for your site, your coworkers, wherever, because we're trying to just get this in the hands of as many people as we can, so we're prepared for hopefully the inevitable when folks come in contact with.
Karen stood up, which is a very ominous sign. So let's move forward.
Sweet. I can do Narcan trainings in like 2 minutes.
Yes. So if the handheld camera maybe wants to come closer so that projected can be like sort of close up of what you're sort of showing, that would be helpful. But tell us what we need to know.
So this is naloxone. This is an antidote. This will help save somebody's life if they are experiencing an opioid overdose or withdrawal. The good thing to know about this is you can give it to anybody, even if you don't know if it's opioid related.
It won't hurt them if they didn't take
If you just find someone laying on the ground, they're not responsive, you don't know, was it a stroke, was it a heart attack, you can give them naloxone. If it's not opioid related, it will not do anything adverse to their system because it's specifically designed to only go onto the opioid receptor. So how it works is opioids go onto our receptor, they start suppressing, right? These drugs work on us because we have already opioid receptors in our body where they bind like a lock and key. As soon as naloxone goes into the system, it will knock that off of the receptor and it will take control. That way the opioid cannot reattach to the receptor, bringing that person hopefully to breath. And in any event, like any medication, this medication will wear off, within 30 to 60 minutes. So it's very important, to elicit support from medical emergency services because as soon as this wears off, the drug again hasn't metabolized out of someone's body, it can just re-grab to that receptor and somebody can experience a rare phenomenon called a secondary overdose without ingesting more substances. So the first thing you're gonna be looking for when you see your card, you will have the signs of an opioid overdose right there. You're gonna be looking for pinpoint pupils. Their skin is going to change colors, really important to look around their lips and their nails. If it's blue or purple or gray or ashen, depending on their original skin tone, they're non-responsive, right? We cannot get this person to wake up. We might try shaking them. You can also see that there might be cold, clammy skin, they're slumped over, but it's very, a fine line between somebody experiencing an opioid high and a overdose. What that fine line is, they're not breathing, right? So I always recommend for folks to give what I call the verbal Narcan. Hey, I'm gonna Narcan you, I'm gonna give you Narcan. If somebody is an opioid user and they're habituated to their use, they're most likely using not to experience withdrawal symptoms. This will put somebody that is severely habituated to opioids into withdrawal. So that can alert someone, no, I'm good. I've worked at sites where folks were slumped over and I just said, hey, I got Narcan, you good? Yeah, I'm cool, because again, they don't want this medication because they're enjoying what they're enjoying. So if they don't respond to, hey, I'm gonna Narcan you, the next thing you wanna do, maybe tap the bottom of their foot if they're laying down, give them a sternum rub. You just really wanna give them some type of pain stimulation. Yeah. What was your?
Oh, I jam on the fingernail
Jam on
bed.
the fingernail, perfect,
It hurts a lot.
Heard the trap, just something to kind of arouse this person to say, hey, stop, I'm good, If in that case they do not respond to any of this stimulation, you want to administer naloxone. What you're going to do is if this person is not laying on the ground, you want to lay them gently. You will open your box. You're going to have 2 doses in that look like this. One dose, they're each 1 dose. Do not try to press it before. It's ready to go when it's inserted into someone's nostril. So you'll tilt their head back gently. You will take the naloxone, put it into their nostril, and administer it. At that point, please step back and call 911. Say, I'm with someone non-responsive. This medication takes about 2 to 3 minutes to get into someone's system. It doesn't do any good to give them more doses within that time. Wait that 3 minutes. If somebody is not responding at that time, you want to give them a secondary dose. That will mean, again, head tilted back, go for the other nostril, please. And if and when they start breathing at any time in this event, you want to roll them on their into the rescue position, which will be on their left side with their head like this and their knee over. This is if somebody vomits. We do not want them aspirating because it defeats the whole purpose of them starting to breathe again. If they do not start breathing in this event, you're on the phone with EMS, start giving rescue breaths and chest compressions. Just do your best to breathe for this person and get oxygen to their organs while EMS is on their way. We always want to elicit support from EMS. They'll come with intramuscular and intravenous. We're seeing with fentanyl that it might just be a matter of needing more medication in order for the person to awaken because of the potency of it, again. So they'll come with that. I also want to let you guys know there's a Good Samaritan law in our state, so if you do administer this, if there's drugs on the scene for the person, they're protected and you are as well protected from administering this. It's not illegal. You do not need a prescription to carry it. It does have a temperature sensitivity, which you will see on the box. You know, you can keep it in your car even if it exceeds it a little bit, and then try not to get it frozen. So that's, we have been having some freezing temperatures out here lately. And then as well, the directions are on the box, so they're also there. Again, if you grab one of the flyers out there, you can watch a Narcan training video, on your own time, because this is fast-paced, and I want you to be able to do that. But no, I'm not out there administering naloxone all the time, so I like to give people, this isn't like, once you get it, you're gonna have to start giving it, right? It's just really a safeguard. Have it in your house. If you've got young folks and they're having a party, tell your kids about it, let them know, because we know folks are experiencing drugs. I'm just gonna put a plug in, because I always do. A gentleman at Los Gatos High, he did a documentary called Fentanyl High, and it was in response of the fentanyl crisis that we're having and having young people experiencing overdoses on site, and he's trying to get that in every high school in Santa Clara County. So it's a wonderful documentary, but it's unfortunate, right, that we have to have these documentaries. What I learned from that is people are getting fentanyl on TikTok, Snapchat, all of these apps, so it's really important, if you have young folks in your house or your children or grandchildren, have these conversations with them. This isn't a let's keep it secret, because this is really, if we don't know the medication is in our house and you come home and God forbid somebody's not breathing, or your teenager goes, oh my God, my friend, I don't know what happened, give this medication.
This is perfect to segue into the Q&A. And will you be willing to stay a few minutes after? Okay.
Neither of us have a hard stop. at
We
1:15,
have
so
4
you'll
minutes
find
for
us out there.
questions, so we're going. I'm going to start with those that were posed on Zoom out of respect for people who are joining us virtually. 2-part question. Number 1, does the availability of Narcan incentivize people to experiment with drugs?
No, it does not from my experience.
Okay. Second part, at what age is peer pressure the greatest for drug use?
I would say middle school. Folks
Evan.
getting into middle school.
Her daughter's in.
Oh! Okay, good to know.
When
Thank
I
you.
have a high schooler, I give her this stuff, and I give her fentanyl testing strips. I ask her to give it to her friends, because a part of me is like, would I rather say, gosh, I gave them something that could possibly save their life, or go, I said no because I had all these thoughts about what our community might think or whatever, but that's the stigma, right? This is a medication. This is like an EpiPen. If somebody's having an anaphylactic shock, I'm not going to say, oh, you should have known better. You shouldn't have gone to that seafood restaurant. You knew you were allergic. No, you're going to administer an EpiPen to help save this person's life, right? So that's the same thing when folks come in contact with substance use. We just really need to work on, destigmatizing folks that use drugs.
And Narcan is available on transit vehicles, in libraries, in schools. It is widely available. Arthur, we'll start with you.
A huge political issue is fentanyl and other drugs coming in from the border. What should the government do to stop fentanyl from coming in with all these millions of people that are coming in from other countries at our southern border?
I don't have the answer to that question, unfortunately.
I mean, is there a way to test for it? How would you test for it?
To test for fentanyl if it's in your substances? I think that's up to the border control and the DEAs. But yeah, that's what I would say is continue to, you know, check bags and parcels coming in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's outside the scope of her
I'm a drug and alcohol
expertise.
counselor, so
Yeah.
I'm not clear on that, but.
But Arthur, we can look into that, and thank you, Tessa, for being gracious.
No,
We'll
no
go to you,
problem.
Nancy, then we'll go to Matt, and then we'll come back up here. Take it away, Nancy.
Okay. I actually don't have a question so much as I just wanted to make a comment. I have a nephew that I lost a couple years ago in a fentanyl overdose, and we had Narcan all the time. He had 3 overdoses before he passed away, and I know that you can call 911 if you forget how to use it, and they'll talk you through it. So I wanted to add that. Because it is intimidating. You open it up and you go, I don't even know where this goes, you know?
Yeah.
So I've used it before. 911 will talk you through it, and that's really helpful. And then secondly, a big misnomer is that fentanyl is actually the drug of choice for a lot of people.
It is.
And so there is that assumption, and I've had this when I tell people about my nephew. They say, oh, who slipped it to him? Or how you know, what was it in?
Yeah.
And
Very
it was
good.
his drug of choice.
Thank you for those comments. And Kathleen, since you're standing right there, we'll go to you before we go to
Thank you
Matt.
for sharing that. I'm sorry for your loss.
Thanks. I'd just like to remember to mention fentfacts.org that the
Yes.
county put up. So FENT facts.org has a lot of this information, and that you can use Narcan with babies. I'm on the
Yep.
first
Oh,
5
that's the
commission.
only time I've used it, unfortunately.
Yes, I'm on the first 5 commission, and most people don't know it can be used with a small one.
I've heard folks giving it to their dogs, and it worked because they licked some of the substance off the tinfoil.
And what if you're worried about a neighbor? You know that what happened with Phoenix? You're worried about a neighbor usage. Do you call 911? I mean,
You could call
CPS,
in terms of like a person is just using substances
and they have a baby.
and they have a
So-
baby. You could if you have a reasonable doubt in order to make a report. I don't know how far they would take that in terms of
That's-
the
That's the
hearsay or you know what I mean, the third party reporting, which is unfortunate.
Okay, Matt.
Yeah, we talked about this briefly before. You know, we were at a friend's house for Thanksgiving, and one of my siblings made a comment, oh my God, did you see they had Narcan sitting on the counter? And I think you kind of addressed this earlier. That's exactly where you want it. If it's hiding in a medicine cabinet and nobody knows that it's there, it's not useful. And just like it invites the conversation, if you have a box of Narcan sitting on your counter, people will talk about it, people will know it's there. It needs to be destigmatized, as we're doing right now, and it needs to just be on your counter next to the oranges. That's simple.
Let me put something in there that I forgot. So we're focusing on youth and illicit, users, but folks that have medication management, right? Some people can take too many pills and not remember that, oh, I took too many of my oxycodones, or I took, so it can also be like if you have an older loved one that isn't responding, it might be possible they forgot that they actually took their 4 p.m. dose and took another one, or you know what? So it isn't just, again, for young folks or babies or adults. It's for any type of person that could come in contact with an opioid.
Thank you. 2 quick
Overdose.
questions, 2 quick responses. Take it away.
Great, thank you. For those of us that are dealing with somebody we care about that has someone in their life that's struggling with addiction treatment now post-fentanyl, help us understand the support that those people need and how different a fentanyl addiction is than other addictions in the recovery side.
I don't see really addictions or substance use different in terms of like the behaviors and how people are feeling inside and what's, having them use the substance. So I would say it would just be more dangerous if they're using it due to the potency of it. But there's a lot of resources, and even on here we have, like, if you're looking for substance support treatment, you can call the 1-800 number that goes to our county, right? This will help access all of our county systems with folks. So yeah, when I look at, there's anywhere from, we can look at work is an addiction. Of course you're not going to possibly overdose from it, but right, it still can have that impact on the family where you're not at home, your loved ones are worried, your health is deteriorating, you might be gambling too much, you're losing your house. Like, there's a lot of different types of, process addictions that also overlap with substance use.
Perfect.
So I don't determine this is a worse addiction than this addiction, because addiction is very, honestly, even though term addiction, it's very binary, where it's like you're addicted or you're not, right? There's a lot of people within that spectrum that aren't either. They're not addicted or not addicted. They're casually using, wine or marijuana or something to that effect, where I wouldn't say you're addicted because you're using it. So it's really like on a spectrum of like, where do people lie within their use, and what's the reasons they're using, right? Because again, why is somebody needing fentanyl? Is it because they watched their mother be murdered in front of them when they were 4 years old, which I've heard from a participant I've worked with that lived out on the streets for, 15 years until they got housed, and that was the reason they started using substances, was because of the pain.
Dave, I'm sorry, we can't get to your question, but
We're
she will wait.
I love to talk about this.
Okay,
I'm gonna go to
Tessa?
that table, give out Narcan, and I'll be here as long as you guys ask for me to.
Perfect. She will stay, and she will graciously take all of your questions. Don't forget to get your free Narcan. Put it right next to the bananas and the apples. It'll be a conversation starter. Tessa, you were brilliant. You broke it down in a way we could all understand, and now I have to reevaluate.
Well, thank you all for, taking steps to learn about it.
Okay, final thought. Next week, you won't want to miss Omar Torres, our council member for D3, talking about what's happening downtown. And finally, my final thought, and this is a good one, you guys are walking out. Too often, we underestimate the power of a touch, a smile, a kind word, a listening ear, and an honest compliment, or the smallest act of caring, all of which have the potential to turn a life around. Be kind, do good. See you next week.